But now on to some breaking news. On a rather sad note, former TJRC chairperson Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat is dead. The Kiplagat passed on at Nairobi Hospital earlier on today. His death comes at a time when Kenya is mourning three other veteran leaders. We now have retired Army General Daniel Opande, who worked closely with the late Kiplagat, live on phone. General, how do you remember the ambassador, and how has this news reached you?
The news has reached me as a big shock. Bethuel was a great man. He's a big loss to Kenya, and he's a big loss to close friends who he worked with, like me. He was a diplomat, very humble, and he was a workaholic.
What are some of the things that stand out for you from Bethuel? He was definitely a statesman and was known for his ambassadorial roles. But what stands out for you?
Bethuel was always ready to listen and to work with people from different walks of life, and he would get results done. I remember him very well when I worked with him on the Mozambican peace process, where he was all the time reaching out to both sides of the divide, Frelimo leaders as well as Renamo leaders, until eventually we got that sorted out.
All right, and of course many Kenyans will remember him as the chair of the TJRC, and possibly you interacted with him on a one-on-one level. What are some of the things that possibly Kenyans don't know about him? He came out as a very strong, a very decisive kind of an individual, but maybe quietly he was a different person. What is it that you know about him that possibly Kenyans don't know?
I would like to say that Bethuel was a family man, a man who was always humble, and he remembered his family. He worked all the time with people from different walks of life, but still Bethuel was a family man, and I just remember him, as a very, very hardworking individual.
Well, thank you very much, retired General David Opande, this morning for just enlightening us on that. But just a quick reminder, in case you're joining us now, some breaking news where we have the former TJRC chair and also former Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat, who passed on earlier on this morning, and this happened at Nairobi Hospital earlier on today. There were reports that had reached us that he was in ICU, but of course details will be revealed as we continue. But three other veterans and leaders in this country that we are already mourning, that is Gigi Kariuki, you have CS and Kaiseri, and also Nicholas B. Watt being mourned right there. But now we also have another hero, another leader in Kenya, who basically has passed on, and that is Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat. I know many Kenyans will remember him as the TJRC chair, and of course at this time our thoughts and our prayers with the family. So some breaking news right there. Bethuel Kiplagat, the former chair of the TJRC, also an ambassador for many years in this country, has passed away earlier on this morning at Nairobi Hospital, where he was undergoing treatment, and that's news that's just reaching us right here in the newsroom. So of course details will be coming up, and right here on KTN News we certainly are putting our hands on it, and we'll give you an up-to-date update on that as we receive it. So what we know right now is it is confirmed that he has passed on earlier on this morning, and that happened at Nairobi Hospital. right, welcome back. And just to update you on the breaking news that is reaching us right now in the newsroom, and that is the death which happened this morning of the Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat. And this happened at Nairobi Hospital, where he was undergoing treatment. So right here on KTN News, of course, we'll give you more details as we receive them. But Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat, of course, known for his hard work, and he has just been described by retired General Daniel Opande as a hard worker, a family man, and one that ensured that every job that he took on, he saw to the finish. And many of us will remember that as the chairman of the TJRC, it was not an easy ride for him. At some point, the commissioners wanted him out, wanted him investigated, and this was directly to do with the Wagala massacre, which happened in 1984. And this is as a result of the fact that it was alleged that he was in one of the meetings that took place in Wajir, and this was apparently as the massacre was being planned. So of course, as a result, the commissioners had come out guns blazing that he should be investigated. But Bethuel Kiplagat, being the fighter that he was, he fought his way out and sat through as the chair right to the end until the TJRC report was prepared. So of course, the country remembers him in many aspects. He's also hailed and seen as a hero, as having overseen some of the negotiations that took place in other countries. For instance, in South Sudan, he was one of the key negotiators from Kenya, and of course his authority was stamped in that particular negotiation. He was also adversely mentioned during the inquiry for the Ouko murder, and this is because he was part of those who were interviewed, and apparently it was alleged that he gave false information to the commission that was investigating the death of the former minister Robert Ouko. So Bethuel Kiplagat, of course, remembered by many in many aspects, but one thing that stood out was the fact that he was a statesman, very cool, calm and collected, but behind that calmness and being collected was a fighter that fought to the very end. And this, of course, is mainly highlighted as the TJRC commission, which was rocked with a lot of controversy, especially when it came to the investigation of the Wagala massacre. And this is because he was adversely mentioned, and it was alleged that he was part of those who were in one of the meetings that took place as this massacre was being planned. And of course, the controversy becoming more highlighted by virtue of the fact that the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission was supposed to ensure that there was truth and justice. So how would there be truth and justice if he was adversely mentioned? But Bethuel Kiplagat, as he was described by his former colleague, and that is retired General Daniel Opande, who we spoke to not too long from now, basically mentioned and said that he was one who fought to the very end. He also described him as a family man, and possibly a very shy man when it came to things to do with his personal life, because not much is said or known about his personal life. But he is described by his friends as one that was a family man, one who was very gentle at home. And this seems to be a quality that runs through the leaders. Remember, as we also continue to mourn the death of the former CS for Interior Security, and that is in Kaiseri, there is also tributes coming out that despite the front that was seen as a very no-nonsense man, behind that stood a very strong, loving family man. And this is the same description that is coming of the fallen Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat. So information reaching us in the newsroom right now that Bethuel Kiplagat is no more. He passed away early this morning, and this is at Nairobi Hospital. So right here on KTN News, of course, we're going to keep you posted and updated as we receive more information regarding his death, and of course any subsequent plans that are going to take place after that. So currently the information we have is that he passed away at Nairobi Hospital, and this happened earlier on this morning as he was receiving treatment. Details also coming in that he was in ICU, so he had already been admitted and possibly had an ailment and was fighting an ailment, but details still coming through. So as we receive those details right here on KTN News, we certainly will keep you posted. All right, and welcome back. And it is Morning Express, but of course what we are looking for and what we're looking at right now is the breaking news, where we have news reaching our newsroom that Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat passed on earlier on this morning at Nairobi Hospital. And Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat, of course, is one that many will remember for his statesmanship in this country and served this country for a long time. his tenure, of course, was riddled with controversy and also questions, and this especially was as he was the chair of the TJRC, the Truth and Justice and Reconciliation Commission, which he chaired, and there was mounting pressure at one time for him to resign after his deputy Betty Murungi resigned, and the commissioners came and come together, and there was mounting pressure for him to resign. But he has been described this morning by retired General Daniel Opande as well, a very a gentleman, but a fighter as well. This, of course, was seen as he fought right to the end and to the finish regarding that particular post that he was given, and he saw it right to the end. Now, the position of Bethuel Kiplagat as chair of the Truth and Justice and Reconciliation was under serious threat since there were calls for him to resign by even South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu came in to mount pressure, and he said that he needs to resign. And this, of course, was because there was questions being raised and mounting pressure coming because of those questions regarding his involvement in especially the Wagala massacre. He was alleged to have been in one of the meetings that took place in the planning of the Wagala massacre, and this became a bone of contention as to how he would chair a commission that was supposed to foresee and ensure that truth and justice was realized in the country. So, of course, another dark day for Kenya. This has been a particularly dark week, given that we are already 3-4 days into mourning other leaders. We have the CS for Interior Security in Kaiseri, who basically passed away over the weekend. We have the likes of Nicholas B. Watt, who of course is remembered by many, especially for being a very powerful minister during the Moi era. We've got the likes of Gigi Kariuki, who was a senator even at the time of his death, and of course his funeral service took place yesterday, but the burial has not yet taken place, and the country still trying to recover from those particular deaths that we have faced and have seen come this week. Now another one being announced this morning, and that is of the late Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat, who passed on at Nairobi Hospital earlier on this morning. And as we get the details, of course, we keep you posted and let you know what's happening. I'm sure we'll have a team who will also be going there, and details still coming in. Sound check. Is now just approaching 8 o'clock right here on Morning Express. Now, news coming into our studios. Former TJRC chairperson Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat is dead. The late Kiplagat passed on in Nairobi Hospital earlier on today. His death comes at a time when Kenya is mourning 3 other veteran leaders. Kiplagat is celebrated locally and regionally. He was mentioned in the Ndungu Commission of Inquiry into illegal and irregular allocation of public land released in 2004, and that of the Parliamentary Select Committee and the inquiry into the murder of former Foreign Affairs Minister Robert Ouko. The Ndungu report had made reference to Kiplagat's acquisition of public land illegally, while Parliamentary Committee chaired by former Kisumu Town East Member of Parliament Gorsungu had concluded that he was untruthful. Kiplagat had also faced charges of complicity in the February 1984 Wagala massacre. He has been accused of attending a security meeting that authorized the disarmament operation that led to the massacre of some Degodia people in Wagala airstrip. Hundreds of people were hindered from the airstrip, were murdered on the airstrip, where they were tortured, starved to death, or even shot by the security forces. A visitor's book at the Wajir DC's office where the meeting took place listed Kiplagat as one of those in attendance. While he was alive, he vigorously denied the claims, insisting that he never attended the meeting. Our international desk editor Lillian Odera interacted widely with the late ambassador and now joins us in studio. And at this point in time, we want to release KTN home that for Life and Style to begin. But on KTN News, we continue with this breaking news. And like I've mentioned, Lillian Odera is here just to give us a scope and what she remembers about Bethuel. But for now, we'd like to release KTN home for Life and Style to begin. All right, Lillian, thank you for joining us on short notice right here in studio. But of course, news reaching us now. And what better source but somebody who interacted with Bethuel. And what do you remember of him?
Mike, I must say it's another cloudy day for this country. Just when we thought that we'd not had enough of bad news in July, then this happened this morning. It's a tragic loss, I think, for this country, and those who served in the diplomatic community especially will remember Ambassador Kiplagat with a lot of passion. Ambassador Kiplagat, for me personally, he's one of the people who inspired me. That's the other life, my other life that you don't know, that my training in international relations, especially diplomacy and foreign policy, was personally inspired by the life story of Ambassador Kiplagat. And, we had very personal, I had a very personal connection with him as a mentor, as a mentor in the world of foreign service. But most tragically, for those who served with him in the diplomatic community, they'll remember Ambassador Kiplagat as a man who believed in the cause for peace. A global cause for peace was one thing that Ambassador Kiplagat really believed in. Ambassador Kiplagat served in this country in different foreign missions, different capacities. But he will not only be remembered here at home. A lot of our neighbors, Somalia, South Sudan, will greatly remember Honorable Kiplagat. I was just speaking to the South Sudanese right now this morning, and apparently I'm the one who broke the news to them. It's a devastating shock. I was just speaking to the deputy head of mission here in Nairobi, Ambassador Jimmy Makwach Deng, and it's devastating news for them, a very personal story, because they're saying South Sudan is at that stage where there's a peace process that is going on, and Ambassador Kiplagat is one of those. He's one of those who were there initially that were there initially, but also currently, remember, there's still a stalemate, in a leadership stalemate in that country, and Ambassador Kiplagat is one of those that they were looking up to. Coincidentally, I've also just spoken to the retired General Lazarus Tumbeiwo. I've also just broken the news to him. Apparently, he's out of the country. He's one of those people who worked very closely with Ambassador Kiplagat, especially to achieve the peace in South Sudan. And I think as we go along, we are going to get a lot more reactions moving forward. All right. And what are some of the things that stand out for you in terms of his achievement? And I mean, there was a lot of controversy, especially locally, when he was chairing the TJRC. But abroad, like you've mentioned, though, South Sudan, there's Somalia as well. There's certain things that he did that stand out even internationally, not just locally. Exactly. That's why I'm telling you that his peace, his journey in quest for peace, will be celebrated not just in this country, but also in other neighboring countries. Ambassador Kiplagat is credited for bringing peace in a lot of these African countries. In the early 80s, when Mozambique, for instance, was
sorry, let me just pause you a little bit, Lilian, and I want to take a call. And we have the former TJRC CEO, Patricia Nyaundi, live with us on telephone. Good morning, Patricia. And you worked very closely with the late Ambassador Kiplagat. And maybe just let us know that the news has reached you and possibly what you remember about the former ambassador.
I think he was a gentleman par excellence. He was very resolute. I think when I saw the message this morning, the thought that came to my mind is that he lives here, and I just thought whatever he thought to achieve, he succeeded in that, and probably that's all we desire as mortals, that we achieve our purpose in life. I remembered the great love he had for his family, and he always relayed that to us as the Commission. He's a strong family ties. So I pray for the family that in the moment of their great loss, they will get the comfort, the Lord, and knowing that their father did the best he could with what he had. So may Ambassador really find rest in death, yeah.
Right, Patricia, he was chair of the commission while you were CEO. What are some of the qualities that stand out for you that you remember from Ambassador Kiplagat?
He had some stubbornness. Once he was persuaded of a course that we should take, then he just remained resolute. And I remember when I first met him, when I joined the commission, what struck me was that he had this upright posture, and of course his mat of gray hair. And he just kept looking forward. I'm sure we're all aware of the great noise that surrounded his term as chair of the Truth Commission. I will always respect him that despite our disagreements, he never ever lost the professional respect that should be present in a place of work. So it is true that on a number of issues we disagreed, even on principle. But Ambassador maintained his stature. He never got untidy about it. We all knew that we had disagreed, but Ambassador truly was a gentleman in word and in deed.
You've described him as having a certain amount of stubbornness. There was a time as the chair, the commissioners came up in arms against him and needed him investigated. How did he handle that? What do you remember of him at that time?
His position was that he didn't think he had done anything wrong. He addressed the commissioners as respectfully as he could, and he just let him know he was going to dig in because this was his position. He always felt that he had been unfairly treated and unfairly judged. He felt that he deserved his day in court, and all along we were all aware that we were in a very politicized process. But whenever the opportunity availed itself, he always sought to rally the commission to act from a common front. I think if you will get opportunity to speak to any of the commissioners, they will confirm that at the end of the day, the differences were professional. And Ambassador was a big part of ensuring that it never became personal. We always kept it at a professional level. Everyone left with their dignity intact. He never attacked the person. He just said this was my position. I think they were very difficult days for the commission that time. But to his credit, I mean, when I reflect on his life now, when it came to the personal, you never ever doubted that Ambassador was a loving man. And while we served with him, a number of us went through personal losses, personal challenges. Ambassador was always the one who remembered our birthdays. He was always the one when somebody lost a loved one who made that call on behalf of the commission. So I think right now, responsibility each one of us to reach out to the family and embrace them with love.
All right, thank you very much, Patricia Nyaundi, for joining us this morning on a live telephone call. That's Patricia Nyaundi, the former CEO of the TJRC, who worked very closely with Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat. And in case you're joining us now, news just getting to our studios that Ambassador Kiplagat is no more. He passed on earlier on this morning at Nairobi Hospital. And Lillian, before we release you, because we know we've got Worldview that you need to prepare for, maybe what are some of the qualities that you feel stand out that will be missed from the late ambassador?
I like what Patricia said there about ambassador's sense of stubbornness. You know, when it came to anything that he believed in.
Despite the gentle demeanor that he had, he looked very gentle and very calm.
Exactly. I remember even when he was negotiating the IGAD, the Somalia peace process, he was one of the first people who said that despite the fact that we are looking for peace, we cannot achieve peace in Somalia without an element of enforcement, you know. And also the other thing is that what we might not be so quick, we have to credit Ambassador Kiplagat alongside the former General Daniel Opande and General Lazarus Sumbewo, one of the elder statesmen who stood to save this country in 2007 in the heat of the post-election violence, when we had that panel of eminent Kenyan personalities who came, you know, to negotiate, to plead with the political class, you know, to appeal to their emotions, for some level of ceasefire. And that is one thing that Ambassador Kiplagat will very critically be remembered for. But above all, I think most of our neighbors, not only Sudan, Somalia, Mozambique, Ambassador Kiplagat was very heavily involved in the peace process during the, Renamo, Frelimo war. And he's one man that the diplomatic service, and especially also for President Moi, Ambassador Kiplagat served as a senior diplomat during President Moi's term. So I want to believe it will be a very personal, deep loss for the retired president as well.
All right, Lillian, I'm sure you're going to have much more information for us on Worldview, and thank you for joining us this morning. And well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll see whether we can handle the hot topics. But basically, in case you're joining us now, details reaching our newsrooms that Ambassador Bethuel Kiplagat is no more. He has passed away. He passed away earlier on this morning at Nairobi Hospital, but details coming up right here on Morning Express. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.